Hello, friends. This is Tim Daniels, and I'm delighted to be here with you again for our this moment with the Master. You know, one of the emotions that we all struggle with is fear, and I would just like to talk for a moment about the sources of our fears, and then I'll look at one scripture to show the solution to our fears. Sometimes, here are some of the sources of our fear. Sometimes fear comes from conditioning. Conditioning. That's where many times it has to do with our conditioning from the way we were raised. When we were raised in an environment where there's constant anger and screaming and there are constant threats. I will beat you. I will kill you. A constant threats and that's a source of our fears. We are conditioned that way when we are in an environment where we are constantly threatened. Another source of our fears can come from concealing. Sometimes we are fearful because we are concealing a secret from our past that we don't want anyone to know about. I had a friend who was in the army, and this was years ago, right after the Vietnam War, and he ran away. He was AWOL, absent without leave, and he was on the run from the army for years. He even attended this church, and all of a sudden, he just simply disappeared. Well, it's because he was fearful that someone would find out about a past that he was concealing. And sometimes as Christians, we're fearful because we are afraid someone will find out a secret from our past. Another source of fear is comparing. Comparing. That's when we're constantly comparing ourselves with someone else and fearful we will lose what we have. Maybe a woman who's married and she's constantly comparing her looks with another woman, and then she's fearful that she will lose her husband to that woman, and she's fearful because of constant comparing. Or a man who is constantly comparing his wealth or what he has or what kind of car or home that he has for his family, comparing that to another man who's providing for his family and has a bigger house, a bigger car, and more money. And he's fearful that he might lose his family to someone else or lose his wife to another man because that man can provide more than he can because he's comparing. Sometimes fear comes from controlling. And many times that's what religion does. Some people live in a religion of fear, constantly fearful that I'm going to break this rule or I'm going to not carry out this ritual, and the religious leaders constantly belittle and berate them and even humiliate them. I've known churches where people are humiliated in front of the whole church when there's absolutely no need to, but religious leaders use that person as an example to instill fear in other people. That is a tactic that the Pharisees used. That's how they kept people in control. By the way, the religion of Christ is one that gives us freedom from fear. Another source of fear is fear that we have to avoid confrontation. Confrontation. We fear that if we confront a person or they confront us, that they will hurt us or we will hurt them. Jacob ran in fear because he didn't want to be confronted by his brother Esau because he had stolen his birthright. Peter ran and later cried from a distance because he feared confrontation by Jesus. So those are some of the sources of our fears. And just because you are fearful, it does not mean that you're not saved. It doesn't mean that you don't love the Lord. But there's a solution. Let me give you the one solution to our fear. And that's in Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 5. Here's the one solution to all of our fears. And he said in Proverbs 3 and verse 5, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him. The King James Version says, acknowledge him, your knowledge of him, and he will make your path straight. The solution to all of our fears is to put our total, complete trust in the Lord. And in every fearful situation, don't freeze, don't flee, don't fight. Face it with Jesus. Thank you very much.